Welcome to another episode of Mental Health Matters. This is Tom Duff, St. Louis Counseling. Spell that out, stlouiscounseling.org if you are interested in looking at our services. So, yeah, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm the executive director of St. Louis Counseling, and this is our podcast. And what we try to do on this is break down stigma through having easy conversations that cover maybe mental illness, emotional health, or just our overall just mental health. And we always try to have on special guests, and today is no exception. And today we have on Katarra. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Glad to be here, first of all.
And that's Katarra Parson, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't say her full
No
name.
S, no S.
No S, Katarra Parson,
Yeah.
yes. And you are a singer, songwriter, fashion diva as well, too. I think I saw that somewhere. But I think today we're going to have a good talk about just life, well, as a singer-songwriter, but just other aspects of life that you deal with as well as we dial into that. So, and who knows, maybe we're talking, you're going to come up with a theme song for us. You know, I don't know. You never know what's going to happen.
I could.
Yeah, we'll see what strikes you as we're talking. So, first of all, I'm curious. When did you know you could sing? Because if you haven't heard her, there's you can find you on YouTube. You can find you on Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
But beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Awesome, talented musician, everything. So, but when did you first hear or know that you could sing?
I knew from being raised in a choir, my mom was a choir director, so we had to sing.
No
I
choice.
was given no choice, so that's how I developed my voice. And it really helped me because I was a very, shy, quiet child. So that's when my, inner self would come out when I would sing on stage with the choir. So
So did you? Okay, so I gotta say, so how old were you when you started on stage there?
if you want to count church as a stage,
Yeah.
that technically is probably about 7 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that nerve-wracking?
Yes, but my mom, she got us so used to, I was so used to singing. We sang in the adult choir too, so we like two kids, we hiding behind all these adults and singing our butts off. So nobody could see me, so I was happy.
So
Yeah.
out of the spotlight, but letting that voice
Exactly.
shine, right? So how would you, for those listening out there, how would you describe your genre, and what are some of the roots that you find in music?
Oh boy, I can go on, but I definitely got to say my main influences are soul, R&B, hip hop with some classical and jazz elements to it. And people don't know this, but I'm heavily influenced by classic rock of like late 60s, mid 70s.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, Uriah Heep, like the harmony and
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So you're a very interesting mix there. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty unique as well.
Stuck in the past musically.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's be honest, right?
Well, yeah.
So you're also in residence at the Cransburg, I'm sorry. But so explain what that means.
So basically, the residency I have with the Cransburg is I get to perform at one of their venues, which is called the Dark Room. Not only do I have, monthly performances there, like they do artist development, they help me as far as marketing. They even help me like as far as like dealing with self-care and mental health and all of that.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's an awesome opportunity. I've been trying to get at it for a year now. So I'm glad to
And
finally get it.
You're in, yeah. And are you from St. Louis originally
Oh
as well?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Born and raised, and then making it big, right? That's
Yes.
the goal. So maybe tell us a little bit about where's the inspiration come from for your music?
Oh God. So you remember what I was saying? I was a shy kid. Still extremely introverted. I kind of hold things in. I'm a very highly sensitive person. So when an event happens that triggers certain emotions in me, it's hard to control those emotions. So it's like a cathartic process for me. I take everything I feel and I put it into that one song about whatever I'm feeling.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in your creative side, then kind of all those creative juices kind of take over, and then you're able to kind of vent out some of that
Exactly.
frustration.
it's my main source of just expressing how I feel, what I'm going through. Because, as an introvert and as somebody with, anxiety, I feel like my voice is not heard a lot. So my music is basically my voice. It speaks for me.
So, when we talk about being introverted and versus extroverted and versus the combo of in between, so someone could say like, "How is she introverted? She's out
Oh,
there
God,
singing and everything." So maybe explain like how that is for you, right?
It's I can't even I can explain it, but it's kind of like more of a vessel. Like I feel like I'm a vessel with this energy coming through me, whatever I feel in the moment. For some reason, I'm able to get up on stage and express what I am feeling in front of a large audience of people. And I realized, I used to have really bad anxiety. I was not able to perform in front of people.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Like bad stage fright. But like the more I got up there, the more people that watched, the more I realized that I was affecting people emotionally. I was touching people. So I realized, I'm up here, I might as well go all out.
So that kind of helped you when you realize you're touching those people on that level. It kind of gives you even that courage to fight through that
Exactly.
anxiety.
Yeah.
So is that like a lot of the anxiety? Have you figured out where that kind of comes from then?
God.
Yeah.
Good old trauma and
Uh-huh.
just a history of always making myself smaller for other people. A history of not having a voice, of a history of not being able to speak up for myself. I know my anxiety comes from a lot of just experiences that affected me as a person today.
Well, I mean, first of all, you know yourself pretty good then. So I mean, that's
Oh, yes.
so. Do you take time? So like for people out there that are listening, we're hearing somebody that's walking through anxiety to taking them to reaching some goals. So do you spend some time just focused on yourself then to like figure yourself out?
Oh boy. Way too much. I'm very introspective. I've been picking up meditation, trying to meditate more because I see that they helps me with my anxiety. I do a lot of self-studying, a lot of self-analysis. Unfortunately, a lot of self-diagnosing. I know
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't go to
Don't do that,
Google.
people.
Don't go to Google. Yeah.
You will scare yourself. But just sitting with myself and being honest and like hearing what I had to say, hearing what my body has to say to me, what is troubling me, what is stressing me. I try to take as much time as I can to sit with myself.
And that's so important to take the time, and sometimes it's scheduling time to do that with
Very,
yourself,
yes.
And then it's also just being able to, as you said, like kind of that mindfulness ability to kind of say like, this is how my body's feeling, this is what my mind's thinking at the same
Exactly.
time, and how did the two correlate? And then for you, that outlet is music, right?
Mostly and mainly music, but any form of just art. I think a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of artists know this, but art is like one of the best forms of just expressing and getting everything that you feel just out of your system, whether it be negative energy, positive energy, anything that's built up inside of you. Like art is a perfect medium for.
And I've heard people before, because I'm not an artist. Sometimes I try to be, and people tell me, "Don't sing, don't do it, don't do that."
We all got the potential.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I like to hear that because that means I'm not tone deaf. I have potential. But like somebody once said, because I was trying to figure out because being a therapist myself and helping people and I encourage people to get creative and use the arts, from music to being an artist to a designer, creativity, and so one time I was like, well, what is that like to be able to just kind of let it out and get on there? And one person said to me, it's kind of like if your mind's full of stuff and you make this list, and then after you make your list, you're like, okay, there's everything I'm thinking. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of get behind that, but maybe can you shed any light on like what's that like to be able to just release?
It's such a primitive, like you're going back to that primal basic human instinct of just letting everything out. Like it's the same thing if you need an aggressive outlet, like if you play sports or box or anything to get that energy out. I say art is just going back to that inner child, definitely. The kind of imaginations we had as kids, like you're delving back into that and you are expressing and you are healing yourself literally by taking whatever you are feeling and putting it on paper or putting it in music. Whatever you feel would be a good creative medium for you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so thinking about it from that primal aspect.
Yeah,
Because then you
like
think about that like play and creativity, and when you're a kid, just drawing and scribbling or just building random things. It's kind of that ability to just get back to that level.
exactly. It's a natural, like I said, just it's cathartic. You are in the moment with yourself and you are taking everything that you feel, you are processing those feelings and you're putting them on paper.
So what? Okay, so singer, songwriter, trying to take yourself through these steps. That's got to be one heck of a stressful world, right?
Oh, yes.
So what's that like for people people that are out there like, man, I want to try it. I've got these aspirations, or two, just helping others realize, how tough it is.
One thing I can say is remain true to yourself. You have to stay authentic to what you want, what you know you need, what you're trying to achieve in the field of arts, cuz it's not a very easy road, like trying to be an artist of any kind in this society. This society doesn't have a lot of. There is an appreciation for arts, but if you're trying to start off by yourself independently, people aren't really going to take you serious until you sort of make a name for yourself. So you have to be your A1 number one fan, like regardless of what anybody says, what anybody tells you, whether it's family, friends. You have to just trust that inner voice inside of you that knows what you want to do for the rest of your life.
So having that goal, having that objective, having that ability to just not give up is
Yes.
so important. Do you find, okay, diving down a couple other deep levels, right? So, we've had guests on before, talking to different females and people of color that have talked about trying to, the societal issues that we're dealing with,
Oh,
right?
boy.
Left and
Yeah.
right. So you being a female, being African American, do you feel sometimes that upward battle is just even more on top of you? And
I
how do you manage that?
That's one thing. Like, see, you got me emotional already. Like, I prepared myself for this interview because, like, this is like exactly what I'm going through in life right now. Like, at this moment, I am a introverted, socially awkward, anxiety-ridden, like black woman trying to achieve music. In a society that kind of tells us that we don't matter. You feel invisibilized, you feel erased, you feel looked over, and you feel like you have a lot to say, and you feel like nobody really cares what you have to say. And that is very, as somebody who is extremely sensitive, like myself, is very impactful on my outlook of myself. I had to be honest, like I have extreme imposter syndrome sometimes as a woman, as a black woman, but mainly as a woman in a male dominated type of industry.
Yeah.
Where you are expected to fail basically, or you had to, you got to do twice as much work just to even get recognized as talent. But it's extremely stressful. I'm not going to lie about that. It's been a very trying time, but I feel like this has purposely happened to me as a social anxiety ridden, introverted person, because this is a lesson for me to find worth within myself. It's been a journey of self-love. I have to love myself, especially when I feel like the world is telling me not to love myself. So, like I said, it's a journey. It really is a journey, and you have to have the backbone of stone. Like you had to have a lot of hope. You had to have a foundation and support system that is going to be there for you. And you have to love yourself. You have to take care of yourself.
First and foremost,
Always,
look out for yourself.
yeah.
You know, that feeling of being invisible, right? You mentioned that. And I think sometimes, you know, there's lots of well, there's listeners out there. Hopefully people are listening, right? But there's so many members of our society that don't get that part and what that feels like.
Yeah.
I mean, how's that? I don't know. Can you find words to describe that, like what that feels like?
It's kind of like I basically I just put out my first music video, and it's my single called Phoenix Rising. This song is basically about me stepping into my power. If you look at the video, I'm walking down this path and I have these like makeshift wings that I made. Cause you know I'm trying to find my wings. I'm trying to rise from who I used to be. That scared, insecure, shy, introverted person. Nothing is wrong with being introverted, by the way. But I'm walking down this path into who I'm becoming, and just everyday people are coming down and they are bumping into me like I don't exist. That's the best way I can describe that. It's walking into a room and having people acknowledge your presence, but refuse to speak to you until they find out that you're the performer. Like,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, that's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that sells it right there. Wow. And you know, your video, I watched that and not knowing you before I watched that, it's like, that's the message, you know? So when you guys put that together in the song and it's like, okay, I see where you're going with that, you know?
Yeah.
And, so if you get a chance, check that out. They can find that on YouTube,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook,
Yeah.
Instagram.
So definitely check that out. You know, you mentioned like, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with being introverted. I was actually talking to a coworker about this the other day, and like people, I think sometimes people think like introverts are weaker than
Exactly,
extroverts.
yeah.
But in reality, it has nothing to do
We
with
just
that.
have a very rich inner world that
Yeah.
I honestly have more fun like by myself in my inner world, like creating, just being 100,000% myself and not feeling like I had to put on a mask when I'm around people.
Exactly, and that's powerful because you know, and that's my argument back to extroverts. Sometimes it's like, you know, you got to be able to, and I'm a big preacher of like know thyself. You got to
Yeah.
know yourself to make change, to do anything. Like you got to know yourself first, and so you know you have to take the time to do that, and that's one of the most powerful things is if someone can actually objectively kind of take a look at themselves and say like, okay, these are my strengths, these are my areas of need, and this is who I am. And so yeah, when you mentioned about being introverted, it just brought up that conversation I was having with somebody else, and but I think the message is it's very powerful, and it's insightful, and it's just full of just skills
Yeah.
and creativity that people just don't recognize.
Oh, yes. And I think that's another thing is introverts, not to speak for all introverts, but as me as an introvert, I get energy off of, you know, when I'm around people, especially like shows and things like that, and I had to talk to a bunch of people. I have what's called a people meter, and my social energy like goes down, and I have to have time to myself to reboot, to recharge. And it's like that as an introvert, I get energy, I get that intrinsic motivation from within. So,
Yeah, that's a great way of explaining
Yeah.
that too. Because then you got to be able to just have that time where an extrovert's like, no, keep me out. I'm getting all the
Exactly.
energy off of this, and here comes my creativity, which is
Yep.
fine too, you know. And because I always find a lot of times people that you think are extroverted are really
Oh
introverts.
yeah, very.
Yeah.
I'm really good at faking being an
Yeah, exactly,
extrovert.
exactly. Because it's like, don't make no mistake. I like my alone time, and I like my time to think. But as a performer, that's the perfect example, right?
Yep.
You can get out there and perform. So you're performing at City Museum here in St. Louis as well, too, right?
Oh yes, tonight.
Tonight, August. What is today? The 8th.
August 8th.
August
Yep,
8th,
7
yeah.
p.m.
Yeah, so top floor of City Museum. Mm-hmm, you ever been up
yes.
there before?
No, I have not been on the rooftop. We were just talking about that. How I'm afraid of heights, so this should be interesting. Very interesting.
Well, they got that school bus hanging up there. I don't know if
See,
you should
that's
go off
what
of that.
freaks me out. It's like, what?
They're going to stick you up in there
Oh,
and then be able to perform. So you're a musician as well. I mean, you play instruments, right? So what instruments do you play?
Mainly piano. Clarinet, I picked that back up because I played that in middle school. Kind of okay on it. Xylophone, but mostly piano. That's my everything.
So you can sit down at the piano and sing. That blows
Yes.
me away. Because one, I cannot, like I can carry a tune on a piano just with like one hand, I can make it. But for two hands, I can't do that. And then two hands and sing.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's like, wow, that's impressive. Now, when did you start playing piano?
Oh boy, that also started at church. I admit I would sit as the preacher did his sermon. I would be on the edge of my seat waiting for church to be over. so
Honesty is good.
so I can go up to the upright wooden piano and like experiment on it. I would play it with like two fingers on each hand because I just taught myself how to play and took it from there.
Wow. So you self-taught on the piano. Amazing. Amazing. So for you, future aspirations, like if we're going to dream here for a second, right?
Yes.
What are they?
First of all, a Grammy, if that counts anymore. I won't get into that conversation. Grammy, though, definitely two more albums. Definitely two more albums. Living somewhere where I can I feel like I'm doing that now, but I want to be further, even more secured as a full-time artist, as a full-time musician. Traveling and being on tour, like touring and just going and touching as many people as I possibly can, like letting people know that there is music out here that can heal you or can help you heal yourself. So one of many lofty aspirations for
Hey,
me.
we all have something to work for, right? So if
Yeah.
you don't have them, you're not going to reach them.
True.
Those goals. You know, you mentioned healing and music, and then like I think you said early on, like you see things happening and it just frustrates you, and of course here in St. Louis and really all over the country, all over the world, right?
there's
There's
so
lots of
much.
stuff that becomes frustrating and having that outlet. But like for you, how does music help that healing on things you see and experience?
Definitely writing about it, writing songs about the issues that I see or anything that I'm going through. But one thing we forget, or we don't really forget this, but we all know it's a universal language. Like music is that one drug that it's a dopamine rush. Like you get chills, you instantly are in a better mood like when you hear music. And I think if people will understand like music's healing properties way more, I think people would listen to music more and allow music to touch them the way that it was meant to touch them. Same thing with meditation, same thing with any kind of self-care, any action that causes you to center yourself for a moment and sit in what you are feeling and analyze and accept what you are feeling. Like that's the perfect medicine for you.
So you talk about the dopamine, and that's scientifically proven, right?
Yes.
We know that
Yes.
that music. There's studies out there that shows music can do that. But yeah, you're right. There's certain songs with the goosebumps.
Even the frequencies like of songs affect your brain waves. Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you think about like you hear a song and it takes you back,
Oh,
or doesn't
God,
that
that
like
nostalgia? Yeah.
and that can be good or bad, right? That
Yeah.
can create other, but sometimes you hear that song and it just takes you to a spot, and you have those memories or certain feelings connected to that, and
Exactly.
it's like that is, you can't deny that, and what music can do for a person.
And like even with songs that do trigger like negative flashbacks or anything like that, that's all a part of the healing process. You hear a song that you used to listen to when you got your heart broken and you realize, yes, you may have been triggered by that, but you are not the same person that you were when you first heard that song.
Yeah.
So you recognize your own growth, like with the aid of music.
So you put that kind of reframe on it, and then that whole
Exactly.
growth mindset. Amazing. Yeah, I mean, there's songs that when you think about, even with or just music, not songs, but even with our elderly and Alzheimer's and dementia, and what they're seeing now, where music can just help them have this memory, at least,
Exactly.
that they can grasp onto. So you're right, the healing art of music, and what it can do for people. Yeah, so it's not only just, you're just not making music for yourself, you're making music for others, it sounds like.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, when I'm writing my songs, like I'm writing it, in the moment I'm writing it for myself, and then Phoenix Rising, for example, I have been listening to this song for 2 years. Like the song is like, I've listened to it, allowed it to heal me and things like that, and then now that I finally put it out to the public, like people are coming to me with like testimonies, basically, like saying how they cried, and how the song has helped them heal. So it's like I realized that my journey of healing is going to ultimately be other people's journey of healing by me releasing music, that music touching people sitting and feeling whatever they feel from the music they hear, and just being open with themselves. So it's crazy how it's all a domino
Yeah.
effect. Like everything we do, every form of art is basically for humanity as a whole. Like people, this society, like there's nothing really that you gain from art other than pleasure. Once again, like the dopamine releases, or just admiring beautiful things, feeling uplifted in a way.
And you think about, at times we've seen the news and the media, right? Social media, just
Yeah.
all the kind of horrific things out there that are going on, or troubling things and frustrating things. And, music can be one part where it can kind of give you that self-care you talk about. And sometimes we're surrounded by just, and there's that secondary trauma, right? So we may not be experiencing a trauma ourselves, but maybe we live in a community, a region, a state that is causing all of us to feel a certain way. And if any way we can find to heal is, because music is free at the same time.
Exactly.
You can turn the radio on and find some music. So sometimes, even when we're struggling to find resources, there's different things out there that you can implement, just different self-care strategies.
Exactly. That's another thing I want to point out about festivals. Any music event, like any live music event, like you just notice how, like, I wish I went to Woodstock. I know I'm romanticizing it because it was some crazy things that went on, but like that many people in one place all together just for music, and just because they knew the magical properties of music, like they knew, people just subconsciously know that when they are in a place in a community kind of atmosphere, and then you have art with that community, like people are bound to just be in a better mood, treat each other better. Like, everybody turns into a bunch of hippies.
Yeah, exactly. like,
Like-
oh, this feels so good. The dopamine.
Yes.
The dopamine is feeling good. Well, and it's funny you say that about community, the word community. And it's like sometimes we don't know how to wrap ourselves into a community. And like music festivals that's a great example, because when I've been at those, it is. I mean, it's a different experience. There's relaxation.
Yes.
There's letting guard down a little bit, and even you can see people that may look different than you, or maybe even have different beliefs, but that music connectors.
Because like all your inhibitions are gone. Like once again, that inner child.
Yeah, it's kind of like dance as well too.
Yep.
Dance. When you see like little kids dancing, it's like they don't care how they look.
Yes.
They just let it loose, and then. But as we get older, we see somebody doing that on the dance floor, like, oh my God, look at them.
They're making a fool of themselves.
Yeah, it's like and so So for people that are watching me dance, don't judge me. I guess that's where I'm coming from. But that is the reality. It's like, and that's just another form of expression. And like when we can let our guard down, and then we as a community don't judge each other.
Yes.
That's where we can fully find those connection points.
It's a extremely just freeing feeling, and then personally for me, it gives me hope in humanity. Like it's like, oh, the world is going to hell, but
yeah, it's something to cling to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we have been here with Katarra, singer songwriter, St. Louis. Look her up on YouTube. Look her up on Facebook. You'll be able to find her in this interview on our website as well too, which will be tagging you on Facebook.
Awesome.
But amazing stuff today that we've kind of heard about. And first of all, for you to share a little bit about who you are, I'm always thankful when people can come on and say like, yeah, I deal with some anxiety. I'm introverted. I have some social anxiety. This is real. I'm dealing with it.
I tell everybody this is like I have to be 100% authentic to myself.
Yeah, and then what that does for everyone else to be able to hear you and see success, and then all of a sudden, like, hey, you know what? I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
Oh,
Other
God,
people feel that
yes.
way. Other people feel that way, and it breaks down those walls of stigma, and that's the stuff that gets me excited that we have people in the community willing to do that. So thank you for doing that with us today. I'm very thankful for that. And you've been listening to Mental Health Matters, right? And so if you're curious about figuring out if you want to sponsor us, contact Debbie Dugan at ddugan, that's DDUGAN, at ccstl.org. Please download the podcast, share the podcast, because not only helps us, it helps our guests as well too. So because we want Katarra to reach her goals, and if we can help send out those vibes your way, we'll do everything we can. But once again, thank you for being on with us. And until next time, this is Tom Duff, Mental Health Matters.
This has been Mental Health Matters with Tom Duff of St. Louis Counseling Services. Check out stlouiscounseling.org for more information.